Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and happy as always to be alongside the one and only Joe Stanley, Jacqui Felgate, Dr Nick Carr. Good to see you guys. Looking forward, another big year of health and wellness, Joe.
Yes, and travel, I predict. And because I know you love travel and innovation, here's something for you, Darcy, that I read, that apparently Fort Worth Airport in Dallas, I love this, they are recycling cooking oil from their restaurants into jet fuel.
It is amazing. And 200,000 litres every month are being collected from over 200 venues. So they're all getting amongst it and taking part.
That is staggering.
I know.
You serious? 200,000 litres a month from one area, one airport?
It is America. They love to fly things over there. But if you can solve the jet fuel issue with cooking oil, that is a great story.
Well, apparently they're going for 100% zero emissions by 2030. And it sounds like the way they're going, they might actually do it.
Well, that's one airport. You scale that out, Nick. And I'm with you. It feels like now the world's back open. I'm very keen to get out and travel as much as possible.
I'm with you, Darcy. Apparently, though, the international travellers are not coming here so much, but, geez, Australians are loving getting back out there. And the top three hotspots for us are Indonesia, New Zealand and America.
You did well.
Yes.
And do you know what, Joe? Last year I did so much overseas travel. I'm actually really looking forward this year to getting around a bit more locally, on the bike perhaps.
Well, travel and taking a break definitely on our radar today. And while we're enjoying the beautiful gardens here at Como House in Melbourne, our own Luke Hines is in the Sunshine State in Queensland and we find him at the Eden Health Retreat.
Thanks so much, guys. As you can see, I'm living my best life, taking in the peace and tranquility of the Currumbin Valley hinterland at Eden Health Retreat. It is the ultimate disconnect from the craziness of the city to recharge the batteries ready for 2023. I'm about to experience one of Eden's rebalancing activities that I'll share with you later on. But first, for anyone who's about to make that long drive home after the summer break, there are ways to get you body and mind ready for a safe trek home.
Studies show that 1 in 5 crashes are attributed to fatigue or daytime sleepiness, but there's no real measure. So you can't sit there and say someone's involved in a fatal crash. You can't go, well, how tired were you? Whereas if someone's speeding, if it's got alcohol or drugs, you can measure it. Warning signs of being fatigued behind the road can be as simple as your vehicle's no longer sitting centred. It's just beginning to move around a little bit. You're beginning to reach around, you're fidgeting, you're no longer comfortable in your seat, you're trying to change the channels, your window's going up and down. You're getting a bit more agitated with other drivers. Something simple, like I'm seeing there, why is that person going so slow? Does that really matter? When all these things that are going on around you, the problem is actually not them, it's you. And people think they can just, I can push a little bit further, I can get home. And I guess that's why a lot of crashes take place in that last mile, especially late and those stuff, when you're getting towards your end destination. Because you go from a risk-based approach, you go, I'm nearly there, I'm tired, but I can push through. I'm sure I can make it. If you're going a long drive, you need to plan it. That's the crucial thing. Have all the plan, know where you're going to have your breaks, and then build in buffer zones as well. Because things can happen on the road, X factors can pop in, delays. So really plan it, have a good rest before you go, have a playlist you're going to listen to. Work out what keeps you upbeat, mix it around. Is it a podcast? Those sort of things. Then have a variety, pull over, change them to mix it up a little bit. Every 2 to 4 hours during daytime is when you should get out of the car and have a break and walk around and take the chance for doing it. At night time, if you're driving, that's definitely 2 hours maximum. Some of the best ways to do it is pull over, have a coffee, and then grab a power sleep. And then when you wake up, you get a double hit of caffeine kicking into your system and you've got a refreshness to get yourself going.
So strangely, I've been having a look at some road rules. Did you realise you're not allowed to drive with your dog on your lap? It's illegal.
OK, well, I certainly would never do that because my Labrador is 37 kilos. But I do know also that you're not allowed to wave your hand outside the window of the car.
They're bizarre, the rules, aren't they? In different states, different rules. And in some states, you can get fined for not locking your car And in New South Wales, I don't know who would do this, but you can also get fined for throwing mud or water on people at a bus stop. Again, I don't know why,
Well, Jack, what this tells me is that there are plenty of rules for the car drivers, but I'd actually like to see a bit more enforcement of the rules for people like the e-bike riders, the e-scooters, and even actually for cyclists like me.
Yeah.
No, we're not good at the rules.
In Europe, the e-scooters are everywhere. And when we were over there in Paris, it's really common. You use it to get to work. No helmet required, though, and I'm sure you would hate that.
Yeah, head injuries and scooters, awful. So, no, must have a helmet.
Also, I find those e-scooters, they're out of control. They come zooming up behind you on the footpath, but I think they are allowed on the footpath. You have to be over 18 to drive one, but of course you have to wear a helmet, surely.
Certainly in Australia.
The alternative is just don't fall off. I suppose it makes sense.
Love this for you.
Well, you would see a few broken bones when you've people coming in and falling off there.
You won't be too surprised, Darcy, that the majority of the injuries, they're sprains, they're broken bones, they're dislocations. And in fact, over 400 e-scooter riders ended up in an emergency department last year.
Well, you know, I always say no one gets injured on a couch.
I have heard you say that before. Hey, up next, we meet the dad who's keeping his daughter's dental care dream alive. We're back after this. Well, there's one thing I can guarantee all of us is that we are getting older, Jo.
Well, that's absolutely true. And in actual fact, by 2050, almost a quarter of the world's population will be over 60.
And by then, in Australia alone, over 50,000 people will be over 100.
So there's a real push to get some of the mature people back into employment. It's called unretirement, and it targets those over the age of 55. So sadly, a bit too late for me.
Which makes me think, if you're working in one profession up to the age of 50, to then have to change to a completely different skill set, how do you reckon you'd go?
Well, actually, I've done it. Not to blow my own horn. But, you know, I've always been a performer and a media sort of wah-de-wah person on camera, but I'm building a startup. And let me tell you, at age 50, it is hard to have new skills.
It's really
hard.
fulfilling, though, as well, like learning a new skill set at a certain age?
It's really fulfilling, but it's terrifying because you're used to not taking risks by this age.
Yes.
So it's completely new and it's scary.
Yeah, me just done the same thing for 40 years. I'll stick with that.
Doing it very well, too, I have to say, Nick. Well, someone who has had to change is a man by the name of Glenn Wainrib. It's an incredible story and an incredible challenge at the same time. Let's check it out.
Melbourne electrician Glenn Wainrib never saw himself managing a business. But in early 2020, a heartbreaking visit to his daughter's home changed everything.
We hadn't heard from Caitlin all day, and I went round to her home and found that she'd passed away suddenly. Our whole world crashed down, and at that point I couldn't help her anymore. I mean, she was gone. So the only way I could help her was keep the legacy going. Caitlin was passionate about her profession, which is she was an oral health therapist. Whatever she did, she gave 100%. And when she was doing her training, she identified that there was deficiencies in oral health care within aged care.
Recognising that many elderly Australians have trouble getting to the dentist, in 2015, Caitlin launched Mobile Dental Clinics Australia, a travelling service employing dentists like Dr. Preeti Arora to treat aged care residents in the comfort of their own homes.
When they come to aged care, majority of the patient either have cognitive impairment, behavioral issues, diseases like dementia, Parkinson's, which affect their ability to clean their mouth. All right, how are you going?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Yeah. We see patients, where you can see that the teeth haven't been brushed for months, and to the level that the plaque and calculus is so much you cannot even see their teeth, and the gums are in a real bad conditions. They are really sore. And obviously, when anybody's in discomfort, it affects their quality of life. They're not being able to eat properly. Their, intake is lowered. They are irritated, and you can see, they're really thankful, towards the end. Because they can immediately feel the difference.
Alrighty. Oh, thank you. Caitlin's passion project quickly gained momentum. Within 5 years, her business grew to consist of 10 vans and over 40 staff members, driving all over Victoria to put a smile on thousands of faces. Knowing just how essential this service has become, Glenn has put everything into keeping his daughter's dream alive, alongside Caitlin's brother, Stephen.
My background is I'm a speech pathologist, so I'm a clinical person. So I don't really have a background in business at all. When my sister passed away, neither of us expected to be involved in the business in such an intrinsic way. And so it took a lot of just learning the business as we go, and sort of finding new things out about how things run, because it's a very unique business and there's no one else that does what we do the way we do it.
In our office, when you walk in, there's a photo of Kate and she looks over the office, and I know it sounds a bit corny, but I do ask her, you know, look for signs that she's happy with what we're doing. Used to be the one scared to go to the dentist, and here I am managing a company to keep it going as a legacy to her and move it forward, not shut down all her good work.
There's no question Caitlin would be proud of her family's efforts. Having made it through Victoria's lockdowns, today Mobile Dental Clinics Australia are back in full force, servicing over 400 aged care homes across the state alongside several schools, early learning centres and prisons. And Glenn and Stephen are hoping 2023 is the year Caitlin's dream goes national.
2020, it was survival. In the last 12 months, it's been consolidation. Consolidate the business, ensure that it's there, get all our policies and procedures down pat. Now we're ready to expand.
Okay, just resting your head back there for me, Jenny, and open your mouth for me. It's a very rewarding feeling to be able to help these patients. I've had patients who have hugged me, once you've done treatment for them. And, I've had a lot of patients who have had traumatic experiences in the past, or who are scared of dentists. And when you, approach them with empathy and, provide treatment to them and support them, they are really thankful. I think everybody has a right to quality of life, and being able to provide that, and I think it's amazing, Yeah. That's it. Well done.
Oh, what a beautiful story, and an incredibly courageous man to take on something so new at that stage of life.
It is an absolutely lovely story, isn't it? And do you know, the really good news is only about 1 in 4 Australians over the age of 85 actually have to live in care.
Well, that's really encouraging. I wouldn't have thought that. So people living healthier as they get older is a great story. Changing tack for a moment, I'm enjoying being in the beautiful gardens here. We've spoken a lot about the effect of nature on your health in so many ways.
Yes, and it's actually been proven by the people of Adelaide, who recently queued for hours to visit and see the incredibly rare and spectacular Titan arum.
So I'm across this. Very strange. It only blooms for 48 hours every couple of years, but there's a bit of a catch. It smells like rotten flesh, so we might be giving it a wide berth, and that's why it's nicknamed the corpse flower.
I love that.
Do you? It's only actually found in Sumatra, so I just wonder why it didn't catch on and move elsewhere.
Yes, well, I don't know. I love it. Well, corpse flower reminds me of my gardening skills, because I kill everything within sight. In fact, my husband has warned all of our friends and family, do not give Joe plants.
Really?
No, because it's just cruel. It's cruel to all living creatures, yes.
Yeah, well, a few things better than spending a day in the mud, and that's exactly where we find Luke Hines right now with his hands in the mud at the Eden Health Retreat.
Sometimes natural is best. Take the soil, for example. The earth is rich in minerals that some people believe are so powerful that they can do wonders for the body. If you follow Ayurvedic beliefs that the body is made up of 5 elements, air, fire, water, ether and earth, then you'll also believe that the minerals found in the earth can heal the body from the outside in, that mud can get you back on track. Look at that. So there's no real rule except to cover your entire body head to toe. Kate, tell me about Club Mud. What is it?
So Club Mud is a leisure activity here at Eden.
So we have sourced some local clay on Bundjalung country, full of these beautiful minerals from the earth and full of enzymes, so it's incredibly healthy for your body. And yeah, it's local Currumbin clay.
The first initial reaction I have is that you really can't help but connect with self. Right now I'm kind of connecting to muscles and that's a little bit sore from the gym, or that feels good. So the therapeutic aspect of it is already starting to kick in. What do you see people experiencing during or after this experience?
Either deep relaxation and some alone time, or a real full group experience where they can have a giggle and yeah, get a lot of joy out of it.
All that's left to do is lay back and dry out. Now, I've heard that once the sun has dried it, it can be quite tough to walk and move because you become almost like a clay statue.
Yes, yeah. We do have a hot shower next to Club Mud, so you can use the hot shower or jump in the creek down there and get a leaf and just give it a good rub and scrub off. So it's kind of like a bit of an exfoliant as well.
All right, I am positively cooked and crispy. It's time to wash this off and see how the skin feels. Ooh, hello. Do you find people, by giving themselves time to give back to their body, it helps their mental health as well?
Oh, hugely. It's one of my favourite parts about working at Eden is the amount of care and love that we put into ourselves, and seeing what that does to people is incredible. Over even 7 days, it's pretty profound.
Will I be finding mud behind my ears for many days and weeks to come?
Maybe.
I'll tell you what, I didn't quite know what to expect going into this, but it's not until you're truly laying there completely covered in mud that you can kind of understand how the body feels. So the weird thing is, it's very stiff because that clay dries and you can't really move. But there's something also calming about that. Now, as I was laying there, I found myself really relaxing and switching off. So from a mental health perspective, I'm in, because I felt quite mindful, the activity of connecting with my body and relaxing the mind. Now, whether this makes me look 10 years younger and completely beautifies my skin, I'm yet to find out. But what I can say is I'm very smooth. I'm going to look in the mirror tonight, maybe take a few selfies, and yeah, we'll see if I'm suddenly, you know, winning Beauty Queen of the Year.
So while Hines was up there detoxing in the dirt, tens of thousands of Australians around the country have just had a month without booze, Jo. What do you think of that?
Oh, good luck to them. I think it's amazing. We love Feb Fast here. It started out as getting off the grog for the month of February, but now it's extended to sugar or whatever your vice might be.
And this year they've thrown in 25 minutes of exercise as an option
Fantastic.
as well.
That actually appeals to me, Jack, the idea of doing something positive rather than necessarily sort of punishing yourself along the way. So I'm up for that. After the break, we're going to find out a bit more, Dr. Nick, about button batteries, and I understand that the legislation is changing.
Yeah, they have, Daz, and not before time, because those little button batteries, they're so small and shiny, they're actually irresistible to little kids.
So, Dr. Nick, what are the worst suspects when it comes to kids' injuries?
Well, where do I start, Jack? Actually, pretty much any toy that shoots anything at all risks injury to the eye. But actually, top of my list are those colourful plastic toys that contain magnets, because if kids swallow a couple of those, they risk sticking together and perforating the intestine and even sometimes death.
Yeah, the nightmare for parents. And there have been some doozies over the years, including the snack time Cabbage Patch, the name.
This is that one.
Literally eating little fingers and hair of children. A shocker.
Extraordinary toy. And, of course, hospital emergency departments absolutely love trampolines. Not.
It got me thinking about when I was a kid, the old-fashioned trampoline in the 80s with those metal springs.
Solid metal all around. Yeah, come down on those, beautiful. But actually, one of the worst culprits are those little silver button batteries, because they're potentially lethal and they cause far too many injuries to kids every year.
I think a lot of parents aren't aware of how dangerous button batteries are. When we look at them, they're lovely and pretty and they sort of look a bit like a coin. In fact, I think for a child it looks a little bit like something to play with. And the children that tend to swallow button batteries, they're attracted to this because they're exploring. They're often really young children. They might be 2 or 3 years of age. They often can't speak very well in terms of expressing what they might have done or what they're feeling. But any child that's expressing chest pain or showing difficulty breathing, any child that's pushing away food, refusing food or showing lots of drooling, or any child that has a really yucky vomit that's got red or black in it, or a really yucky poo that's got red or black in it, these are some of the key signs of a button battery having been swallowed. So when a child swallows a button battery, they've swallowed something that has electrical current that can flow through it. And the button battery is perfectly sized to lodge in the swallowing tube, the esophagus. And as soon as that lodging happens, the current starts to flow and the burn starts. This is really dangerous. This is burning holes into the swallowing tube, can burn through into major blood vessels. It can cause death. And it can do all of that within 2 hours. It's a really dangerous moment, and it's happening for 20 children in Australia every week. Any parent who thinks that their child has swallowed a button battery should bring their child to the closest hospital. The clock is ticking, the minutes are racing, and we need to get that child asleep and to use a gentle grabbing instrument that looks straight down the swallowing tube, takes hold of it and pulls it out. We can see and hear the fizzing of the button battery as we're doing that. We feel our own heart rate raising because we understand the severity and the significance of this moment. So the key message for parents is to rebrand button batteries as poisons. We need to think of them as those dangerous medicines, those chemicals we have in and around our home but are kept strictly away from children. We need to be mindful around where we keep spare button batteries. This is not for the cutlery drawer. This is not for the hardware cupboard in the laundry. This is for up high, out of reach in a locked cabinet. People will often ask me, where are button batteries in our home? And I think we almost have to ask, where aren't button batteries in our home? They're all through our life. They're in our key hobs, they're in our TV remotes, but they're also in the toys that many of our children play with because they drive functions of the toys. And this is why the battery compartment is secured with a screw. That's required by Australian standards. If we choose to buy something through the internet that somehow evades Australian standards, we might be bringing in a dangerous toy. We need to be aware of the risks that are there, and we need to help people to understand that button batteries may look like a pretty penny, but they're really poisons.
I love hearing from Dr. Warwick Teague there from the Royal Children's Hospital. We're going to be seeing him a lot more on the show, which is fantastic because he knows a lot about keeping children safe. He has seen a lot.
Sure has, Joe, no doubt about that. I love that they've now got mandatory safety standards for batteries and all products that contain them, which for mine, that can't have come soon enough. Now, changing gear, Joe, to your passion topic, which is gut health.
OK, so I am passionate about gut health, but I'm no expert.
Well, it's been something that you've consistently told us about on the show. Now, you'll be surprised to know that I'm aware of TikTok, Joe.
Right,
and
I am surprised.
Thanks to Sienna, my 17-year-old, I've learned a bit about TikTok, but you'll be surprised to know there are thousands and billions of views of gut health-related TikTok content. Did you know that?
Yes, well, I think that what they're seeking is help with IBS and bloating, which indicates where they are at the time that they are on TikTok.
Well, that is a good point. And I think if you get through life and you haven't got any issues with your gut, you've probably done pretty well, I think.
Well, absolutely. It can come on you when you're a child, which is why it's so important to help our kids learn to love their gut.
The goal of every parent is to help give their child a healthy start to life. My husband Sam and I started our family around 9 years ago, and that's when I learnt the relationship between good bacteria, gut health and overall health in the body. And that relationship exists in both adults and kids.
The gut microbiome is an ecosystem that's living inside all of us, and it's comprised of a diverse community of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. And just like the Earth's ecosystem helps to sustain a healthy planet, the gut microbiome helps to sustain a healthy us. So it changes and adapts as we journey through life, but a healthy and balanced microbiome is especially important early in life. Up until the age of 3, there is a window of opportunity to create a resilient gut microbiome while the foundations are being formed. After 3, it settles into a more stable composition.
While the concept of exposing your child to bacteria can feel wrong, family members, friends, pets and nature can all contribute to the diversity of the gut community. Maintaining a balance and promoting good bacteria is important.
LifeSpace multi-strain probiotics have been designed for all the different stages of life. There's probiotic plus pregnancy and breastfeeding, containing 4 different strains of beneficial bacteria, as well as calcium and vitamin D, supporting healthy growth and development in breastfed healthy infants. Probiotic powder for baby, containing 10 strains of beneficial bacteria. This formula supports a healthy digestive system. And finally, probiotic powder for children, for ages 3 to 12, with 15 strains of beneficial bacteria to help maintain the immune system and support everyday health and well-being. We've come a long way when it comes to education about gut health. Microbiome, bacteria diversity, probiotics certainly weren't words that I was aware of in my childhood. So it's quite amazing for me that my children are.
My definition of beauty has evolved and changed over the years, but I think now there's nothing more beautiful than someone who is happy. Now, with happiness often comes smiling, and with smiling comes teeth. And keeping those teeth pearly white no longer requires an expensive trip to the dentist. The Advanced Whitening Kit from the original Australian teeth whitening brand White Glow has been developed by dentists to lift up to 10 years of stains and yellowness from the surface of the teeth enamel without abrasions. This rechargeable device works through red and blue spectrum LED lights that activate an advanced whitening serum. The serum features 3 active ingredients that are commonly used by Australian dentists. 10 minutes is all you need, and take a tip from a time-poor queen of multitasking. You can pop these on when you are ironing, when you're doing your contouring, when you're doing your skincare, eyebrows, cleaning your room, cleaning the house, washing. The list goes on and on. While there's many great things that discolour our teeth, whether it be tea, red wine, my favourite coffee, White Glow makes sure that nothing stops you to have the confidence to smile. After all, it's the beauty of the soul.
Jade K there, showing us how to max out our smiles.
Well, speaking of smiles, Jo, I'm a bit of a toothpaste aficionado. It's got to be super strong. It's got to be super minty.
Yes, love it. Now, you know I've got flying on the mind, OK? Maybe it's time for a holiday for me already. I don't know. Here's something that is a little bit divisive. Airline food, OK? Das, love it or hate it?
No, I'm a fan. I like the little hot meal that comes around, and you're sitting there for such a long time. It's a bit of joy that arrives. You're not going to, go out to a restaurant and order airline food, but when it's in front of me, I genuinely enjoy it.
Well, for those of us, sadly, that are up the back end of the plane rather than up the front, the options can be a little bit limited. You either got the chicken or the beef.
The size of my legs, I have to, I need the leg room, Jo.
Sure,
we're learning a lot about you.
Explain that somehow.
You may not know, but Jetstar's #1 requested food for 2022 was cheese and crackers, and second was toasty. So pretty conservative options there for most people.
Yes, and I have heard, not that I've ever experienced it, sadly, that Etihad actually recruit Michelin star chefs. Nice. And Emirates, apparently, they serve their meals on lovely Royal Georgian fine bone china. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice if we could experience that.
Yes.
But I don't think it matters where you're sitting, up the front or up the back. A plane is the perfect environment for germs and cold and flus.
Yes, and what if the actual act of flying itself makes you sick? So here's Dr. Nick for when you're reaching for your bag and it's not your luggage.
Travel sickness or motion sickness can happen to anyone. I remember when it happened to my son Simon, aged 10. We were on a long-haul flight, and instead of reaching for the sick bag, he threw up all over the carpet in the aisle between the seats, and he just had a huge pasta lunch. Oh. This lovely steward came along, covered the whole mess with an entire bag of ground coffee, some crushed ice, and a towel, and just left it there until we landed. So why did Simon, who was happily munching on his spaghetti, suddenly feel so horribly unwell? Well, that's the nature of motion sickness. Whether car, boat or plane, one moment we're fine, then a little bit of turbulence and oh, not so good. It's due to a conflict in our senses between what we can see and what the balance mechanisms in our inner ear are telling us. And while curiously babies are normally fine, it can happen to just about anyone else, even experienced sailors. Admiral Lord Nelson and Charles Darwin both suffered horribly from seasickness. So if you do too, you're in good company. Over the ages, people have tried all sorts of ways of treating motion sickness. Some of the more unusual include rubbing the dirt from the kitchen hearth into your scalp and having a nice glass of fresh urine. Not sure about those, but some of the things that actually do help include looking out of the car or at the horizon if you're at sea, getting some fresh air, drinking plenty of water, not too much alcohol, and having something simple in your stomach like some dry biscuits. These days, of course, we have various medications, and there are three main groups. There are the antihistamines and anticholinergics, which you can buy over the counter at the pharmacy. And then there are the anti-nausea pills, for which you need a prescription from your doctor. But remember that like all medications, they can have side effects, so have a chat with your health practitioner about what's right for you and maybe have a test dose first to make sure you're okay. Oh, and make sure you take it at least an hour before travel. If you wait until you're already feeling sick, too late. Of course, if you're really worried, you could always take the advice of Australian comedian Spike Milligan. His surefire cure for travel sickness: sit under a tree.
I tell you, with all those lurgies floating around a plane, I was never so happy to wear a mask than when I got on a plane.
Really, that is so true. And I think travelling with kids as well, you're always on tenterhooks. Are they going to get sick on the way home?
And I genuinely feel when someone else's kid's having a nightmare on a plane, you want to make it go away for them.
I know, I always think it's worse for them than you, who has to put up with that other person's child.
Yep.
And I think another thing to check, and something that we might sometimes overlook, is the appropriate shots when you're travelling overseas, not just for you, but for your kids.
Time for a break now. Coming up, Hines and Zoe, it's two for the road as they prepare meals fit to travel.
Life is busy and accidents happen. And while we're all pretty good at getting a cut or scratch or graze and sometimes stitches, few of us know how to treat a wound properly. Many of us have grown up believing that a wound should be left to dry out and scab, but this may delay the healing process. The best way to promote healing is to ensure a moist wound environment. This can reduce recovery time and the risk of long-term scarring. A bandage or dressing is the perfect way to protect the wound and to encourage this moist healing environment. When choosing a dressing, look for one that's waterproof so that you can shower and wash and protect the wound from any external potentially contaminated liquids. It should also be comfortable and capable of lasting for at least 7 days, giving the wound time to heal. Finally, it should suit all ages so that you are well prepared no matter who in the family takes a tumble. Unfortunately for us, common wounds are a part of life. Treating them properly can ensure that these small accidents don't leave lasting scars on our bodies.
Well, here we are in the beautiful vegetable garden at Como House, and I tell you what, Jack, when you look around, it feels like we're surrounded by natural remedies.
It's like a little oasis, isn't it? And you know what I love? Walking through here, all the butterflies, but also all the bees. And it got me thinking about honey and how it's not just great for your insides, but we can use it on our skin as well.
Absolutely. Well, the ancient Egyptians used it as a wound care on their wounds.
You're full of good information. But also, walking through here, it got me thinking about my diet and the diet of my children. We're always on the go. We're so busy. And you look at all these amazing fruits and vegetables that are growing here and you think, are my kids actually getting enough of them, particularly when we're so busy?
Well, that's right. I mean, we all intend on giving our children lots of vegetables, but sometimes it's really hard when you are on the go. So here's Zoe and Hines with their take on food that's great on the go.
Often we're eating on the go, sometimes at the desk, or I'm guilty of eating in the car.
You know, time poor doesn't have to equal poor health. I think my most well-travelled meal would have to be breakfast, particularly when I'm working interstate. I'm not in my kitchen, I'm not at the table. You know the best way to travel with, though? A good old mason jar.
Practical and portable. I like your thinking, but I got to say, I'm a bit more of a lunch on the go kind of guy because I wake up at 4 a.m. I'm usually home at that time.
That's a good point. So let's cover off both of them. For my breakfast jar, I've already gone ahead and soaked my oats overnight. Look, I am a huge fan of oats. They're packed full of B vitamins, which is perfect for converting food into energy. They've got fibre, so they keep you fuller for longer. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to layer it with all these other beautiful and vibrant ingredients.
All right, well, you get onto that, Zoe. I'm going to get onto my lunch concoction, which is all about Mexican flavours. And when you think Mexican food, you got to think colour. We've got the tomato, the sweet corn, and, of course, this beautiful avocado.
Avocados also keep you fuller for longer because they contain fat. But, you know, that word shouldn't be associated to avocados because they're so good for you.
That's right, Zoe. Avocados contain monounsaturated fats, which are good fat. They help our cellular health and lower bad cholesterol. It's those trans fats that we want to be avoiding from processed and refined foods.
But I don't know about you, Hines. I hate getting a bad avocado. Tell me about your tip in picking the best avocado.
Well, we just gave it away. You press the tip gently, and if it gives a little, you're good to go.
You know what? Now that we've revealed that tip, you know what I love about these jars? They're so versatile. You can simply pop it on a bowl or a plate, or you can eat it straight from the jar.
And if you're a little bit nervous about travelling with glass, wrap it in a tea towel, and it doubles as either a napkin or a placemat when you're eating on the go.
Heinzie, where is the weirdest place you've ever eaten?
Do you really want to know?
Always.
The toot. The toot. I'm time poor, you got to eat on the toot.
You are a strange man.
How cute are these socks? These are an initiative from Nikki Verrocchi, whose son Rafi was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago, and we're so happy to say that he is now on the other side of that. Aren't they beautiful?
They are gorgeous, Jo. I like this one with the avocado. And Nikki and Matt have already raised $280,000, a remarkable achievement for the Kookaburra Award at the Royal Children's Hospital. And now she's created Bambi socks.
We started Bambi Mini over 2.5 years ago, and giving back to charity was always a part of the plan for us. And we weren't too sure at the time in what capacity, but after Rafi was diagnosed with leukemia, we started personally fundraising for the Good Friday appeal, and we decided that at that moment we knew we wanted to give back in a bigger way and make a bigger impact. The socks came about because we're predominantly a baby wear brand, and we wanted to create something that Rafi, kids his age and older, could also wear. All proceeds raised will go directly to the Good Friday appeal, supporting the Royal Children's Hospital. We are so lucky to have an incredible world-class hospital right here in Victoria. From the doctors, nurses, medical and administrative staff, they've all played a pivotal role in Rafi's journey to beating cancer. From the moment we stepped into the hospital, the care and support they've provided us, and especially Rafi, has been invaluable. We want Rafi to be a beacon of hope for all of the sick children and their families. Our message to them is, you got this, and we're going to be doing our best to ensure you have the best chance of making that recovery to full health.
Stacks on, Fox! No, not stacks on! Stacks on!
These socks raise money for Melbourne's Royal Children's Hospital and the incredible work they do for thousands of kids and their families.
Yes, it's contributing to the hospital's Good Friday appeal, and so does the Run for Kids event.
It sure does, Jo. Thousands of people will take part on Sunday, March 19. There's a long and a short course option, so I tell you what, there's no excuse.
So make sure you head to the Run for Kids website to check out more and find out all the information required. Tell you what, I've loved our time here at Como House.
Look, and we've had kookaburras visit us. How beautiful are they?
And who knows where you'll find us next week. I might even be wearing these.
Well, I know where I'm going to be on Sunday. You can check myself and Gerald quickly out on House of Honours Radio.
And our latest weekend lift out is all about sustainability with some great options to go green.
That's all we've got time for today. Thanks as always to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. See you next time.